And welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of the Chasin 28 podcast here on Pinstripe Prospects, episode number 5. Happy to be back with you once again this week. Hope you're all staying safe. Hope you're all wearing a mask. Hope you've all prepared for the holidays. Hope you all have a great holiday with your loved ones, your friends, your family. Whether you're having a small gathering of the right amount of people or just doing whatever you do to celebrate the holiday. Hope you enjoy it as best as you can. I'm Ricky Keeler. Glad to be back with you once again this week. We have a good show for you today. We're not only going to talk about DJ in the League, we're going to talk about other stuff. We're going to get into the whole Tomoyuki Sugano sweepstakes for the Yankees, what that might mean if that's the way they look to get a pitcher. We'll look at maybe as Tommy Kahnle goes to the Dodgers. We'll talk about that a little bit. There are a couple of Yankees shining out in winter ball. Estevan Florial and Luis Medina doing some good things. How does that go into 2021 if there is a minor league season, which we had some news on that from a report from Cubs Insider earlier this week, so we'll get into that as well. And we'll do a little holiday wish list. Sometimes we like to write our letters to Yankee Santa. What do we want the Yankees to get over the holiday with, well, not a lot of action going on the free agent and trade market. And, of course, we'll have our final thoughts as well, which are always entertaining. Want to remind you can follow us on Twitter at Pinstripe Pros. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Chances are Chasin 28 is there. Just search for Pinstripe Prospects and you will see it. We want to hear from you. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Please give us that rating. We hope it's 5 stars. We want to hear from you. What are you looking forward to from us in 2021? You can email me, rickjkeeler@gmail.com. We'll have more on our Dugout membership program and how you can sign up later on in the show. Want to bring in my 2 members of the panel for this week. Let's start with our great person who runs our social media. Alexis Farinacci is here. Alexis, how are you?
Doing well. Good to be back on the show tonight. Hope everybody has a great, happy holidays and a very Merry Christmas this week. Excited to talk some Yankees baseball and future of what hopefully is going to be minor league baseball.
And also joining us this week, we are glad to have the founder of Pinstripe Prospects, Rob Pimpsner is back. Rob, how are you?
I'm doing well. I can't complain. Everything's been going pretty well the last week or so, I'm really looking forward to the break and can't wait to talk some Yankees.
So let's get right into it. I want to start with, we're going to skip DJ LeMahieu for a second. We spent a lot of time on it the last couple of weeks. Well, of course, we'll talk about it a little bit. But I found an article this week from Joel Sherman of the New York Post where he was talking about the Mets looking into getting the Japanese pitcher, the ace of the Yomiuri Giants, Tomoyuki Sugano. And you wonder with the Yankees if maybe that's a pitcher they should go after. Now, the rules are for him, you have to get the posting fee in by January 7th. And we'll get into the timetable on that. But, Rob, for a Yankee team that's been very quiet outside of their pursuit of LeMahieu, Sugano's been known for great numbers in Japan. We know the Yankees have a history of going after the top Japanese pitchers, Hideki Arabu, Keigawa, Masahiro Tanaka. They signed Hiroki Kuroda, even though not directly from Japan, but they've signed Hiroki Kuroda from the Dodgers before. Do you think Sugano could be a good plan B if most likely Masahiro Tanaka is not wearing pinstripes next year?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I haven't seen him pitch. I can't really talk about how he performs.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been kind of burned before on Japanese pitchers. Tanaka was a good one. But, you brought him up, Keigawa. Keigawa was a good pitcher over in Japan, and we kind of got really burned on that one.
Mm-hmm. And you could argue getting burned by Ohtani, too, but at the same time, the Yankees might have got lucky they got burned on Ohtani, considering how hurt he's been.
Oh, yeah, that might have worked out in their favor. But when it comes down to it, the Yankees do need another pitcher, at least one pitcher, maybe 2. So they could let guys like Devi Garcia and Clark Schmidt develop a little bit more in the minors in 2021 and serve as backup guys in that rotation. But, they need someone more that is a front of the rotation guy. They need someone more like a Trevor Bauer, and that's my opinion. They need someone that could be at the top of that rotation with Garrett Cole, with Luis Severino, guys that could really lock this down for them in the long run. And I'm not sure this is the right way to go.
I think the issue with Bauer, and to me, it's not even I don't really worry about the whole Garrett Cole, Trevor Bauer don't like each other thing. I think with a lot of money involved, you'll tend to like anybody for the most part. You'll live with it depending on the money you get. I just don't know if the Yankees are going to make that big of an expenditure unless it's for LeMahieu. And whether that's the right call or not depends to be seen. But to me, it just sounds like Trevor Bauer is going to go wherever the most money is at this point. And I don't know if the Yankees are willing to play in the deep end of the pool, at least on this one.
Well, here's the thing. There's talks that Bauer may be willing to do 1-year deals. If that's possible, you sign up for 1 year and see what you do. I think that could be a very beneficial way for the Yankees and beneficial for Bauer because if he performs well in a Yankees uniform, I love his little hints and everything, him wearing the Yankee cap and everyone going nuts. I think that's great. It's the personality we don't have in baseball anymore. I know he rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but bottom line is he is a great pitcher.
Yeah, I think the one thing though, I when you saw he had his top 5 and you thought it was going to be like his top 5 teams that like he was interested in, and instead it was just the top 5 fan bases that have tried to court him, and he did like a 15-minute video on it. Yeah, I think there's some part that is good in that too. Definitely helps the social media aspect of the game. Bauer definitely is one of those big presence on social media, so we'll see if that changes. And I think, Alexis, I'll go to you for this one. I mentioned the contract for Sugano has to get done by January 7th. That's only 2 weeks away, and we still don't have a resolution in the DJ LeMahieu market. You wonder, Alexis, how long can the Yankees keep waiting on him before they have to go to Plan Bs? I guess with no other action, they can wait until actually somebody else makes a move for a change.
Yeah, I think if you're the Yankees, you need to make a move quick, and you almost wonder, is the ball in the Yankees' court right now in the LeMahieu situation? I mean, he's been very clear that he wants a multi-year, multi-million-dollar deal, and it doesn't sound like the Yankees are willing to give him that multi-year. If you're Brian Cashman, and you need to listen to your players, the players all want him back. You've got the money to do it. And I certainly don't think they're going to go after Bauer if they don't go after LeMahieu, if they're looking for a multi-year deal. Maybe I'm with Rob that you get Bauer if it's a 1-year deal, but right now it doesn't seem like the Yankees are willing to go for long-term deals.
And John Heyman had the report a couple of days ago. The Mets were in contact with DJ LeMahieu. Rob, I don't really think it matters if the Mets get involved. I don't think the Mets are going to sign him. They have Jeff McNeil at second base. They still have to pay Robinson Cano after this year. They don't have to pay him in 21, but you still have that contract on the books for right now. I'm not worried about the Mets getting LeMahieu. The question at this point is whether or not to me, at least the last couple weeks we talked about it on the show, I don't really know if I want to go 5 years for DJ LeMahieu and pay him until he's 37 and be a very expensive Ben Zobrist.
One thing I will say regarding the Mets is Steve Cohen is going to alter the balance of power in Major League Baseball. It's going to alter a lot of things and force a lot of owners to make decisions and spend money, which I think is drastically needed. He's going to be the George Steinbrenner of this new era of baseball, where he's not only going to be investing in the players, he's going to be investing in the technologies. And I wouldn't put it past him to sign LeMahieu to make that big splash.
I think they could. The only thing is, I think if the Mets are going to make a big splash, it's not LeMahieu. I think it's more getting Bauer for that rotation, especially if they don't feel they could sign Noah Syndergaard long-term, or George Springer. I still think he could be in play for center field. I think he'd be an upgrade over Brandon Nimmo at that position, and they could use his bat at the top of the lineup and add more power. I think those would be the more likely splashes than would for LeMahieu. Now, I think Cohen would consider it a win if their involvement pushed the Yankees to giving him 5 years instead of 4.
I mean, that's a good possibility. I mean, if I were the Yankees, I'd do whatever it takes to get DJ LeMahieu back. He's been such an important part of this team for 2 years, and I remember when people were freaking out about, like, who is this guy? Why did they sign him? And it turns out to be the best signing they've had in a long time. And, if it's me, I would bring him back at all costs.
The other big Yankee news of the week since we were last year, Tommy Kahnle has a new home. And I remember I said last week that a team that wasn't contending in 21 might end up giving Tommy Kahnle a shot in a 2-year deal. Well, Tommy Kahnle got a 2-year deal, but with the Dodgers. $4 million with a little bit more incentives that can get it up to $6 million. And Rob, this just seems like a perfect fit for the Dodgers. They're very good at finding those guys you can pay for less money that help out in the long run. And Tommy Kahnle meant a lot to the Yankees bullpen, both on and off the field. It was no chance the Yankees were going to bring him back, but it is a loss for that clubhouse. And for the Dodgers, just adding another veteran that if he doesn't help out in 21, should definitely help in 22.
I think it's a good move for Tommy, and I think he's going to get more of an opportunity out there with Los Angeles because, like you said, they find those guys and they use those guys to the best of their ability. With the Yankees, he was kind of buried under a lot of guys. He was like, the fourth, fifth guy down on the bullpen depth chart. With the Dodgers, he's going to be getting more chances and show off what he can do. I think it's a good spot for him.
Alexis, I think a lot of people are complaining on Twitter, at least over the last 24 hours or so, about, the Yankees went out and got Bowman last week, and a guy was coming off Tommy John, and they didn't bring back Kahnle. Well, I think to those that are complaining about they got Bowman on a minor league deal. There were going to be teams that were going to give Tommy Kahnle major league money to rehab. The Yankees, with it as a team that right now you would think is trying to figure out how he can stay under that $210 million payroll number, they were not going to bring back Tommy Kahnle and pay him just to rehab. They need to make sure they get every dollar possible to help the big league club, and Kahnle just was not going to do that this year.
Yeah, I agree. It's unfortunate for Yankees fans. You can see why they're frustrated. Kahnle was a guy who Yankees fans really liked and adored on that team, and I thought he was a really big piece of the bullpen until he went out with Tommy John. And again, just reiterating Rob, a really good opportunity for Tommy to be able to go out to Los Angeles. But yeah, you got Bowman coming in on a minor league deal. The Yankees definitely need to work on their major league bullpen, though. I think losing Kahnle is going to be a hit that the Yankees might not necessarily have been ready to take. It's going to be interesting to see what moves the Yankees make. At this point, I think if you're a Yankees fan, you're kind of nervous as to what 2021 looks like.
Yeah, definitely. We talked about this a little bit last week on the show, and I'll throw this out to both of you guys. I remember Brian Cashman saying last week that this roster looked complete, and I don't think it does. Their bullpen needs a lot, unless you're relying on Adam Ottavino to bounce back. I think you need a couple more pieces in there. The rotation obviously is still a work in progress, and if this is a roster that's complete in Brian Cashman's mind, which I tend to not take it at face value that he thinks it's actually complete. But right now, this team, they were an Orioles loss to Toronto at the end of the season last year for finishing 8th in the American League. That's a team way far away from making that whole contending for a championship concept. And yes, you could say that a good run in the playoffs, but they still lost to Tampa, a team with a really low payroll in Game 5. It just makes you wonder where, Rob, the future of this Yankee team lies for 21 is. I don't want to say 21 is a bridge year, but if the Yankees definitely don't bring back LeMahieu, you kind of get the sense it might be.
I think this is the year the Yankees need to put the money in and go for it. I understand that, 2020 you took a big financial hit, but you're billionaires. You can afford it. Let's do it. Go for this year because you'll make a lot more money in the long run, and you don't want to turn off your fans. You're going to turn off your fans if you keep doing this penny-pinching stuff when you're on the cusp, but you're just not pushing it over. Get DJ LeMahieu back, get a good arm for that rotation, and let's go for it this year. Let's see what these guys can do. Let's see what we can do and what we can get done if you actually attempt to go for it. Last year was so disappointing on so many levels, partly because of the pandemic, but partly because the team severely underperformed. We need to actually try and invest in it. And this is very contrary to where I usually am, where I'm, let's see what these guys do. Let's play the kids. Let's develop from within. We're at the point where we got to try for it. The Yankees are going to have a lot of players that are going to have no place to play because of the contraction. So they can make some big moves and get rid of some really, really good prospects in some trades and actually attempt for 2021 World Series. And I think they should.
Yeah, we'll get into that when we look at some of the guys that have shined in Winter League ball a little bit later. But Alexis, I think you also look at it, I think from the Yankees standpoint as well, there's not really anybody running away with the American League right now. You'd think Tampa takes a step back because they lost Charlie Morton, and we don't really know what they're going to go through that rotation, although they tend to find arms out of nowhere. Toronto's on the rise, but the White Sox have really made the only huge moves in the American League so far this winter. Houston's on the down. Oakland's on – you tend not to trust Oakland or Minnesota in big games. Cleveland's on the decline. So maybe Cashman looks at it and says, I don't really have to make a lot of big moves to get that far in the American League because the American League is that not as strong as the National League.
Yeah, and I think one team you do, like you mentioned the Blue Jays, and I know they're a contender as well for DJ LeMahieu, and I think that's where you get worried. If the Blue Jays get LeMahieu, look out, they could be a team that could really do some damage this year. But if I'm the Yankees, yeah, you've got to go get LeMahieu. You're gonna upset your fan base. You're gonna upset your players as well, who aren't going to be happy that you're getting rid of LeMahieu. That's a big ticket item that if you're the Yankees, if you get rid of LeMahieu, are you kind of saying this year's a rebuilding year and moving on to 2022? Because it's kind of what it sounds like. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's not really the message I think you want to send to him.
This is the Yankees. You do not have rebuilding years. Even when they tore it down and everything a few years ago, it was still not a rebuilding year because they actually had a resurgence when they brought the kids up. Now it's time to go for it. Bring LeMahieu back, get another arm for that rotation, and let's actually win a World Series in 2021.
That's a good transition to the holiday wish list idea, which was brought up by our own Paul Pagano a couple weeks ago, and we want to keep that idea here because Paul wanted it on this show. So I wanted to bring this idea to both of you. If you were writing a letter to Yankee Santa, we know Rob would ask for like the PlayStation 5, which is I guess, or the Xbox, whatever the new Xbox is for LeMahieu and Bauer. So Alexis, I'll ask you, what is on your Yankees holiday wish list to Santa?
Is this who I want the Yankees to go get, or is this what I want for Christmas?
What would, if you could have anybody, like, what's your Yankees wish list? Like, what would you want the Yankees to go after, or what do you think they should go after that we haven't talked about?
Get LeMahieu back.
Mm-hmm. I think that's on everybody's Yankees wish list. I feel like they've written like the North Pole is flooded with DJ LeMahieu emails or letters.
Well, this jolly old fat guy wants to see a World Series in 2021.
Yeah,
problem. I mean, to me, if outside of LeMahieu and Bauer, I think if you look at a pitcher, I think would fit the Yankees, and we'll see ultimately when he has his throwing sessions how he does, is Corey Kluber. Because I think if the Yankees want to go after a guy that's familiar with Matt Blake, that's familiar with how things are done with Blake in Cleveland, and Kluber is one of those guys, and you're buying him on a buy low kind of thing, and Kluber, I think, would be a good veteran for a lot of these younger pitchers as well. You're not going to bring him in on that lofty contract. It's going to be maybe that back-end guy, which the Yankees could use. Now, for right now, they're not even playing in the Jake Odorizzi sweepstakes, so that doesn't really mean what they'll do with Kluber. But if I'm looking at maybe, if I've already gotten my big Yankee presents from Santa, I'm looking at kind of getting that small stuff. Kind of like when you get a calendar. My family get calendars a lot. So maybe Corey Kluber is like the Yankees version of getting a calendar. But I do think, like Rob said before, you need the veteran. You need the veteran pitcher. I think Kluber would make sense as that kind of veteran influence on that team to go with Garrett Cole and another guy that would be familiar with Blake.
I was on the bandwagon for them to sign Kluber. Was it last year?
Mm-hmm.
But this year, I just really think they need another.
Well, they had a trade for Kluber last year.
No,
because he got traded to Texas.
Was it last year or the year before? When he was a free agent, they didn't sign until like middle of the year.
Was that Kluber? I'll have to take a look at that. But go ahead while I look into that.
Yeah, I think they need a guy that could slide into that front of the rotation. And I don't think Kluber's that. Kluber's more a mid guy. And I want a guy that can slide into that front that could, take pressure off of Cole and take the spot of Severino, that when Severino comes back, moves into, or even stays at number 2, and Severino moves to 3. And you got a huge, powerful rotation that's going to lead you into the World Series. I just don't see Kluber really doing that, but I do agree he would be a nice veteran presence.
Yeah, Kluber was acquired last year from the trade with Cleveland to Texas. So I don't think he's been a free agent since then. Maybe we're thinking a different pitcher there. But I do think I remember a lot of Yankee fans were talking about trading for Kluber last year. Before, and then he had all those arm problems during the season. So that's where he might have gone with that. I want to remind you here at Pinstripe Prospects, we provide exclusive minor league content to our paid subscribers with our Dugout Membership Program. And with this Dugout Membership Program, you get scouting reports, player interviews, features, and much more, in addition to our free Major League coverage as you head into 2021. Sign up for our Dugout Membership Program for either $5.50 a month or $40 a year. We'd really appreciate it. And if you're not sure about us, you can still use the promo code Chasin28Pod. That's CHASIN 28Pod, Chasin28Pod. You get your first 30 days free, so try it out. It's great. We have great content coming up, great scouting reports coming up as well from our own Michael Marino, who's working on some good stuff. So be sure to check a lot of that out. Rob, do you have anything you want to add on that as we head into the new year here?
Not right now, but be sure to sign up. There's going to be some great stuff coming along. You guys are killing it. I believe in you guys, and I believe you're going to give a lot of great content out there for 2021.
So let's dive into the minor league aspect a little bit here. And there have been a couple of Yankees, Rob, that have actually had some good performances out in winter ball. A lot of Yankees playing winter ball this year. Estevan Florial is playing really well, and Luis Medina I saw had, I think, was it 11 strikeouts in a game the other day out in Puerto Rico. Looking at those two guys in particular, what are your 2021 expectations considering what the minor league season might look like if we have a complete season? What are your expectations for both of them?
You know, Medina, I expect him to be in Double-A. I think he will be in Somerset in 2021 if they play. Florial, I think it's likely he'll be in Scranton. You know, both of those guys were at the alternate site for most of the year. And Medina is playing against guys that are typical of the level he would have pitched against in 2020 in the Roberto Clemente League. And Florial is playing against AAA guys, quadruple A guys in the DR. So I expect them, you know, Florial will be in Scranton and Medina in I almost said Trenton, and Somerset in 2021. I got to get used to that change now. And when it comes down to it, Medina is one of those talents that is just really special. He's such a unique individual and his raw talent that can do so much, and was just looking to put it together. And 2020 was going to be a big year for him. You know, I was expecting him to rocket through the system in 2020 and just really dominate, and I'm glad to see him having the success in the Winter Bowl.
Yeah, I think Medina in particular is interesting for next year, because I was kind of looking at this year, Rob, regardless of what the Yankees do, as the year you find out about the Yankees pitching, because at the major league level with Schmidt and Montgomery and the young pitchers at the major league level, they now get a full year to work with Matt Blake, and we'll see how that goes. And then for the minor leagues, you've got Medina, you've got Heel, you've got all these good young arms, and it's time for the Yankees to figure out, okay, which ones do we keep, which ones do we think are our future, and which ones do we think we can trade to help our major league club. We know how much this team has a good stock of young arms at the lower levels of the minor leagues. I think this is the year they kind of have to figure out, okay, which ones are we keeping and which ones are we trying to get something before we lose them in Rule 5, as the Yankees just lost a bunch of arms in Rule 5.
I think Medina is a front of the rotation quality talent that can really, really be something big for them. And if everything is clicking, which it looks like it's starting to click, he can really rocket up the system and really make a big difference when it comes to the team very, very shortly.
So what I was interested on with those two, because Florial has been always viewed as that upper echelon prospect, and his status in terms of top prospect has faded in the industry a little bit, as good as he is. And he had a cup of coffee at the major league level last year and thought did okay in that role. With the success of guys like Florial and Medina, you think change how the Yankee system is viewed within the industry? Because right now they were at the top level a few years ago. Now they're kind of like at that mid-tier level Where do you think if those guys succeed, does it change how the Yankees system gets viewed?
It's difficult to say because a lot of that is just projection and everything. And, if it was going to change, it would have been this year with a strong minor league season. But without having that, without them being able to showcase what they could do, I really don't see that changing because once they get into the majors and really showcasing what they could do in the majors, it's not going to matter in terms of the system. And I think the Yankees are in a position, they have a lot of young raw talent. The problem is a good half of them are below Class A, and with the contraction, they're going to lose a lot of those guys.
Mm-hmm. So heading into 2021, I think starting in the first week of January, we're going to look into some position groups and start to dive into those a little bit. So before we do that, Alexis, I'll go to you for this one, and Rob, I'll have you follow. Give me a prospect you're watching on the Yankees in 2021 that you have your eye on, and particularly how they do if and when the minor league season starts next year.
I think you keep an eye on Florial. I think we saw that he did well in the couple times he was brought up. He struggled at the plate a little bit. But I think if he continues to develop, I think he's someone that could really be a great prospect for the Yankees. I think you continue to look at Clark Schmidt. You continue to look at Albert Abreu. Those pitchers that, again, coming out of the system could do really, really well at the major league level. Clark Schmidt got his opportunity last year and did well. I think the Yankees have a great pitching depth in their minor league system, and if these guys can get developed in a reasonable amount of time, I think they're guys that you look at to come up into to the major leagues.
And for me, one prospect that I'm going to keep an eye on is a guy that probably none of you have heard of, is Masahiro Tanaka, guy that spent 2019 in the Dominican, and I believe is going to be the next big position player prospect in this organization. Guys like him and Madison Santos are just killing it with their exit velos and have some of the best in the organization. But I think Escato is going to be something special to watch at short.
Yeah, I remember him from the pinstripe performances we used to write a couple years ago. Just it seems like every day he was getting 2-3 hits a night or a day in the Dominican League. So I'm looking forward to see what he can do coming up to the States and getting a chance to play a little bit, even if it is starting out in Tampa and just seeing him perform. Because I think, like you said, the Yankees have a lot of lower level talent that a lot of people don't know that much about. And with the teams, at least affiliates going down, a lot of those guys are now going to make that leap up if they can perform. And I think Moscato could be one of those guys.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, it was Dallas Keuchel that I was confusing Kluber for. That shows you where my brain's been.
You're close. It was a pitcher with a K. We will either way. We're hoping for Ks. My position group I want to watch is catcher. A lot of spotlight's been on Gary Sanchez and Kyle Higashioka. I really think 2021 has to be the year where somebody breaks out in the Yankees system at catcher. Whether it's Anthony Siegler, if he can stay healthy. Josh Breaux, we know, has the offensive capability, but can he improve defensively? Or do the Yankees try him at different positions just to keep his bat in the lineup? What about Austin Wells? How much progress does he make in his first season, or potentially his first full season? What can he do defensively? Does he continue to improve on what he did at Arizona? Or does he just move around the diamond and play different spots? We've seen Jason Lopez and Donnie Sands and things like that, but the Yankees, I think, if they don't believe fully in Gary Sanchez past this season or this coming season, then they have to figure out who's our catcher of the future. They've spent a lot of draft capital on catchers, and I think it's time, Rob, one of them has to separate themselves. They can't just keep drafting catchers in the first round every year and hoping it sticks.
I agree 100%. One of these guys has to do something, and I hope we see that in 2021.
Which one do you think out of those three? I mean, we haven't seen Wells, so I think it's kind of maybe an unfair question. We've seen Breaux, you and I at least have, and Siegler has seen a little bit at least from the times he's been on the field. Which one do you have the most upside in out of those three if you had to pick?
Oh, I don't know. It's tough. I will say, I'm more interested in seeing Wells because I haven't seen him and I want to see what he could do. But Siegler, I really want to see him healthy. So I just don't know. It's a tough question to ask to answer.
It depends, I think, on what you look at a catcher, too, because we know Wills and Bro have the offense, but you can make the case Siegler might be the better defender out of the three.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean Siegler's a slouch on offense either. But, I'm just like, it's just really tough question to answer because we haven't seen enough of all three of them to really decide.
Let's take a look.
We never know if a guy like Anthony Gomez could come up and really make a difference as well.
True. And I think that's where also you look at the hit the Yankees took by losing Campero in the Rule 5 to the Angels. Campero was a guy that, yes, was only rookie ball, as we talked about last week, or a couple weeks ago, but a guy who had, for his brief time in the Yankees organization, just had a consistent hit tool. So that was one of those guys that maybe could have developed a little bit. Maybe he comes back, but that was a guy the Yankees that went under the radar lost compared to the attention that went to Whitlock and Stephan and the pitchers they lost in Rule 5.
Yeah, 100%.
So one of the reports I found interesting, Todd Johnson, who was a writer at Cubs Insider, had this report that the minor league baseball season could get pushed to mid-May. There would be a separate spring training that would follow major league camp. The games will only be played Wednesday through Sunday, so no more Monday, Tuesday games. And the schedule for Class A would be 132 games, but could be either 120 or 125. No All-Star games, no playoffs. Rob, what did you make of that report? We've seen Baseball America kind of report some of these things before, too. But if there is a minor league season, we understand it's probably going to be of a shortened variety and a rushed variety because you're going to have those players probably play some of them in two different spring trainings.
Yeah, I mean, what it comes down to is what actually happens with the pandemic. If we get mass vaccinations in the first few months of the new year, you're probably looking at the higher side of the 120 to 130 games per team. But if it's not going to be till June, you may essentially be short season ball for all of the minors in 2021. Either way, I do think there will be traditional minor league baseball in 2021, and it's going to be later in the year where we get half or even full capacity of fans at the games. And I think it's going to be important. What is it, like I said, it's going to depend on what's going on in the world. If we get more vaccinations and more vaccines in the first part of 2021, that's going to make a huge, huge difference.
Alexis, what did you make of that report that came out?
I'm not surprised by it. I think we've kind of, like you said, Baseball America had reported some of those aspects of that report earlier in the year. I think we see that the minor league season becomes more of a developmental type of season, especially if you're not going to have playoffs, which that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way too. Especially for teams that in the Florida State League who were playoff bound back when Hurricane Dorian came in and about plowed into Florida 2 years ago now. It's crazy to think that it's kind of been how long since these guys have touched the field, almost. It's a little over a year and a half, but those teams aren't going to have a chance at playoffs and at winning a championship until they get to that major league level. So I think that's a little disappointing for the guys, but, still a chance, obviously, for them to play baseball, and that's what they want to do. But, I think it'd be a smart idea to kind of have your major league and AAA guys kind of get their spring training out of the way and then bring in your other guys, just to keep it safe for everybody. I think we are going to see that format happen. But, yeah, not surprised by that report coming out.
I mean, when you look at it, minor league spring training, they've always had like 150 to 200 players in camp for minor league spring training alone. So having staggered spring trainings is going to be a big, big thing to mitigate risk. We saw what happened with the Yankees last spring training. And in addition to that, losing Monday and Tuesday games aren't going to be that big of a deal from a business standpoint. Those are traditionally the lowest attended games for minor league teams, so I'm pretty sure they won't mind losing those games if it means you get consistent weekend games. And when it comes down to it, I'm not 100% sold on this report. I think it's interesting. I do expect to be between 100 and 120 games for a minor league season in 2021. And I'm looking forward to it because for me, the later in the year, the better. Um, but we'll see what happens. I think 2022 is when we get back to an actual true minor league season. It's just between the pandemic and the contraction, this season is kind of stinging a lot for a lot of people.
Yes, especially if you avoid those cold weather games in April. It might be better for minor league baseball to start toward the later end of April and early May, because then you'd have, especially if fans are allowed back in at some capacity, it would be a lot warmer for people to want to go to the game, especially with people that might have a hesitancy to go to a public ballpark right out of the gate. I think that plays a factor too. And I think also from a Yankees perspective, they're one of the teams that didn't have instructional ball. So you can only do, and the Yankees have done a great job, I'm sure, with their players over Zoom and things like that. But just to have a chance to get back on the field and actually have on-field instruction is going to be big for the Yankees too, with that additional spring training on top of Major League spring training.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's really not much I can add to that.
So with that, let's get into our final thoughts for this week. As you all know, for this show, final thoughts could be, well, anything you want to talk about. Doesn't really have to be baseball. So that's what makes the fun part of final thoughts. So Alexis, I'll start with you. What's your final thought for this week?
Crazy to see that the NFL season is winding down. I'm going to go that route again. Right now, my Jags looking like they might get Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. We'll see if we can pull off a win against the Bears or Colts. I mean, got Colts next week, and that's who we beat in week 1. So maybe we pull out another win there again. We'll see.
Definitely the Jets, I'm sure, helped with that whole figuring out what the number 1 pick is, but give the Jets players credit for actually winning a football game this week that they want to do, that some of their fan base did not want them to do. So that will definitely be a factor to watching the NFL over the final 2 weeks. Rob, what about you? What's your final thought for this week?
You guys, I'm sure you guys already seen the announcement. I'm stepping back from Pinstripe Prospects. I'm letting Ricky and the guys take over the reins. A lot of this has to do with a lot of stuff going on in my personal life. It's not that I don't want to work on Pinstripe Prospects. It's just I've got a lot of other stuff going on that has to take priority. And I'm not going away completely. I'll still be around to hopefully do some photos and video work and maybe an article here or there. But I want to let you guys know that Pinstripe Prospects is in great hands. Ricky is a great guy to lead the team, and we got a lot of great content coming your guys' way. When it comes down to it, help support the site, support these guys, get a dugout subscription. We need 150 subscriptions to cover all of our costs, and we're at 50 right now, so we need 100 more to get all of our operational costs right now. And with that, we actually took off all the advertising on the website, except for the video one, which we don't control, but we wanted to still provide you guys with that video content. And when it comes down to it, I want to see Pinstripe Prospects succeed. 2021 is going to be a big year for the site. It's our make or break year. It's either we get the subscribers to keep the site going, or at the end of 2021 we shut down. And I honestly do not want to see us shut down. And I think we could do a lot of cool things. So please help support the site and get a dugout subscription.
Yeah, I want to echo that, especially Rob's done a great job with this site, building this site. I know how much of hard work he's put into this site. So definitely Rob's work is much appreciated here, and hopefully in 2021 we'll have some good stuff here at Pinstripe Prospects for all. Hopefully we'll have games to write about. We have beat writers in Somerset and Hudson Valley and Scranton. So if there are games and there are media allowed, we'll have people there. I mean, we are the go-to place for Yankees minor league information, and we're going to plan to do a lot more of that once we get an idea of where minor league the season is. We're going to have a lot more minor league content. Like I mentioned, when we come back in January here on the show, we're going to start looking at different position groups up here and start kind of diving into different positions on the site, like we kind of tried to do last year while the sport was in shutdown due to the COVID pandemic. We're going to try to get a lot more interviews with players and coaches and things like that. I'll be talking this coming week with Yankee right-hander Braden Bristow, who was a late-round pick a few years ago, but he's been one of the bullpen arms at the upper levels of the Yankees organization. So I'll be talking to him a little bit about that. Not sure if we'll play that here on the air, but we will definitely have that article up hopefully next week or so. So a lot of things going on. So thank you to all those who have read and subscribed over the past year and sticking with us. And hope you'll be with us in 2021, because a lot of people work really hard on this site. And we are the go-to place for Yankees minor league information. I've always said that. Since coming here from Yanks Go Yard, I've known where I go to find my minor league information on the Yankees. I go to Pinstripe Prospects. We have our ears on the ground and looking at the game from a different perspective. And I think that's what's been the best thing about this site. And hopefully it continues. And I want to thank
add to that, one of the big things that Ricky pointed out is that we are boots on the ground. We are at the games, at these different affiliates, and that is the biggest difference between us and every other prospect site out there, is that we are actually there seeing these people, talking to the players, talking to the coaches, talking to the scouts, talking to the guys in the industry, and getting firsthand information like video, photos, etc. And the downside of all that is that it is expensive, and even our hosting costs are pretty pricey because we want to provide a good service to you guys. And with that in mind, please, like I said, please sign up for Dugout subscription service. It's going to keep the site going, and we want to keep the site up and running. I've put a lot of my blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of my own money into this website to keep it going for the last few years. And unfortunately, I'm at the point where I just can no longer afford to take those extra expenses on myself. But I want to see the site succeed and see the site keep going. And
definitely will hope to do that going into next year. And I want to thank Rob as well for the work he's done. And just only like I've talked to him the past couple of days, just the work he's done helping me learn more about the game itself. I feel I've learned a lot more and I've grown a lot more writing here over the last couple of years. I know Rob's always going to be writing. Rob's not going anywhere, but we'll hopefully have him on the show a few times, and it's always a lot of fun just to talk the sport. And I find every time you talk to Rob, you learn something different watching the game. So hopefully Rob will be on, but I want to thank him for that as well. And know that's not lost through this conversation as well.
Yeah, I'm going to miss the daily powwows in our booth, just talking with the scouts. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, you probably enjoyed that, Ricky, where all the scouts just kind of gravitated towards me, and we had these really in-depth conversations before games and during rain delays and stuff that, you learn a lot during those times.
So my final thought for this week, I wanted to give some love to a player who recently retired in Major League Baseball. I want to talk about Howie Kendrick a little bit, who announced his retirement on Monday via Instagram. Was it Monday or Tuesday? It was earlier this week. And we all remember Kendrick as being the guy who hit the ball off the foul pole for the Nationals against the Astros, who saved baseball from having Houston win 2 championships in 3 years and be even more of a black eye in the sport than they already are. So you could say the Nationals kind of saved baseball's face a little bit. But Howie Kendrick, very quietly, very big Yankee killer in his career. 65 career games against the Yankees. He hit 340 with a 407 on base. A lot of that was with the Angels. But I feel Howie Kendrick's one of those underappreciated veterans you just love to have on your baseball team. I wrote about the Nationals for a little bit at District on Deck on Fansided. So I remember watching a lot of those games and seeing the impact Kendrick had when he got traded there. Would play a little bit of outfield, would play some infield, played some first base. This is a player that I'm sure a lot of people have wanted to acquire over the years and try to get him on those 1-2 year deals. Who knows if the Yankees ever tried to get him in the past? He would have been a good fit down the road at some point. Retires at 37 years old, but had a great career in Major League Baseball. Not a Hall of Famer by any means, but a guy that has worked his butt off over his Major League career, and I felt deserved a little bit of – it was mentioned, but I don't think it's been mentioned enough. The quality veteran he was, 15-year career, and almost had a career batting average of 300. Ended at 294, over 1,700 hits. He had over 100 stolen bases in 15 years as well. A very good career. So congratulations to Howie Kendrick, and hopefully all the best in what he decides to do going forward. Want to remind you, of course, you could follow us on Twitter at Pinstripe Pros, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Wherever you get your podcast, chances are we are there. It's under Pinstripe Prospects for now, but it will say Chasin 28 Pod when you search it on wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to give us a rating on iTunes. We want that 5-star rating, but what do you want to see in 2021? It's very important that we hear from you. You can email me, rickjkeeler@gmail.com. Always happy to get your emails and hear your feedback. I really do appreciate it. Beginning in January, we're going to go into position groups a little bit more on the show, so you'll get more minor league content as well. Not sure yet if we'll be back next week. If obviously there's a signing, I think we'll definitely be here. But definitely in January, keep an eye out. First week, we'll be doing some position group breakdowns for you guys on the Yankees minor league positions. Alexis, how can they follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me at Alexis Farinacci.
And Rob, how can they follow you on Twitter?
Follow me at rpimpsner on Twitter and Instagram. I'd be happy to invite you into what I'm going to be doing now that I'm not going to be working on Pinstripe Prospects. A lot of great work in science and technology.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Rickinator555. That's at RECKLRI, Nader like a Terminator, and 3 5s. You can catch my show, Kicking with Keeler, every week on Full Press Radio. We'll have one for the holiday. Looking at the NFL slate this weekend, the Christmas NBA games. Of course, we'll talk about James Harden because we have to. But we'll get into a lot of that and have some fun with that show. Thank you all that have tuned into that over the last year or so. You can catch my work over as well at Barrett Sports Media, talking about what ESPN personalities say and sometimes what Charles Barkley doesn't say with Kevin Durant on Inside the NBA on Tuesday. So I talked about that on my article this week. You won't see my work there until January as well. Started there in May. I'm happy to be there too. So check out that work in the meantime as well. Thanks to all those here at Pinstripe Prospects that are on our team. We do great work. I always want to shout them out here. Hopefully James will be back next time we're on. But it's been a lot of fun. If we don't get a chance to talk to you for the rest of the year, have a great holiday with whoever you're celebrating with. Please stay safe. Please wear a mask, and hopefully we'll end this year together and hopefully better things in store for 2021. Have a great holiday, a happy new year. And from all of us here at Pinstripe Prospects, enjoy the time that you have with your friends and family, and we'll see you back here next time on the show. Thank you, everybody.
Merry Christmas.